It's spoiling some of Tasmania's most secluded beaches and killing wildlife. Marine debris has scientists and conservationists worried, and the federal government has listed it as a direct threat to 20 species. But exactly how much rubbish is washing onto our shores and where's it coming from? In what they've described as a world first, CSIRO scientists have begun tracking more than 12,000 kilometres of Australian coastline to answer those questions. Tamara Glumac reports.
From a distance, this remote Tasmanian coastline appears pristine and untouched. But look closely along the southern shores of Great Taylor's Bay on Bruny Island and the rubbish tells a different story.
It's everywhere. I mean, we will be going along in our boat and we'll see perhaps a buoy that's been attached to a rope, and somehow on a high tide it's been tangled up in a tree that's laying across the rocks, so it's all tangled up in there. You know, we see it all the time on nice, beautiful sandy beaches, on rocky shores, all around the coast.
We've picked up a significant amount of black polyurethane piping from the fish cages, buoys. There has been a significant amount of rope. There is also rubbish from campsites.
Adrian Dale and his wife Allegra have spent the past 2 decades clearing rubbish from the beaches adjoining their 1,500-acre property. At least once a month, they take their amphibious boat through bush tracks down into the ocean, travelling to secluded beaches bordering Great Taylor's Bay.
This is such a gorgeous place. As we approach it, it would appear pristine to anyone. But in this 400 metres, I reckon it's going to take us probably at least 4 solid days to collect all the stuff that's underneath the high water mark.
What they're finding is disturbing.
This is Lucas shearwater, and if we look, the rope is where its head is through here. So it's managed to get its head through it and has succumbed.
The most recent rubbish haul, collected along a 700-metre stretch of beach, weighed 200 kilograms and included buoys and PVC piping up to 90 metres long.
Over the years, I would say probably we've gone to the tip maybe 100 times with that amount of rubbish in the back. I don't know, it runs into tons.
And all of this rubbish that you see here was collected by 2 people.
Fed up with growing amounts of rubbish, Adrian and Allegra filmed a recent clean-up and posted the footage on YouTube.
We wanted to get a bit of visual awareness of that this is not changing. There are many groups around, coast care groups, and many people clean up beaches, but it just does not improve.
Not only is the video being viewed on YouTube.
I've sent it to fish farms, I've sent it to Mast, I've sent it to some of the boating clubs, and we have been getting some really interesting responses. And I've sent it to people around the world as well, my friends and our friends around the world, who have written back that they're just appalled.
The couple believes some of the rubbish is coming from nearby fish farms.
We have seen more rope on the beach, and we have seen more large PVC pieces of equipment that have been used in fish farm construction.
They've called for more scrutiny of fisheries and commercial fishermen.
I think we need environmental police basically dropping into some of the industries that use the waters as a means to make their monies, and just to drop in to make sure that all the rules and regulations, environmental rules and regulations that are imposed on them and that they are supposed to adhere to, are in fact being adhered to.
Colour-coded rope from salmon farmer Tassau has been identified in the YouTube video.
Most of the issue is around weather or storms or something happening out on the farms, and we may have a piece of equipment break off or we may have some rope go in the water. But we're really working hard to educate our staff to keep rope in place in the bottom of the boat and bin it and make sure it doesn't drift off.
The Seafood Industry Council and marine farmers, including Tassal, have identified debris hotspots, including Great Taylor's Bay, and say they're conducting regular cleanups.
The general public can phone up the companies. We've got posters in the D'Entrecasteaux Channel, Bruny Island region, which give contact details for which organisations are responsible for cleaning up specific location.
Dr Scott Condie is a marine scientist at the CSIRO, specialising in oceanographic modelling. He says Great Taylor's Bay is more prone to rubbish accumulation because of current flows into the area.
Water coming out of the Huon River enters the channel, and if there's northerly winds blowing at the same time, then a lot of that water will move into Great Taylor's Bay. The debris follow that water, but because the water then has to sink to escape out of Great Taylor's Bay, the debris can't follow it and thus gets trapped.
Dr Condie says ocean circulation models could be used to help prevent rubbish accumulating.
I think this modelling is useful if we can trace the source of the debris and then maybe manage it up in the catchment.
CSIRO scientists have just begun work on a project that will, for the first time, uncover the true extent of marine debris.
There's no study that's taken basically a scientific approach, having the same methodology, carrying that out repeatedly in visits around such a broad geographic scale, and that's true for Australia and for any other country around the world.
Hundreds of beaches spanning more than 12,000 kilometres will be surveyed around Australia.
We're looking at the characteristics of the beaches and the colour of the sand and what we're actually finding. So is it hard plastic or soft plastic? Is it pieces of rope? The colour, is it blue and green and red and purple? And we're also using oceanographic models to look to see where is it likely coming from, how does that differ at different seasons, different times of the year and different beaches.
The project's expected to take 3 years and will also involve community groups like Coast Care, as well as an education component in schools.
And the goal or the idea is to understand what's the scope and the scale and the origin and the types of marine debris that we're finding on Australia's coasts. We know that marine debris impacts a variety of wildlife, from threatened turtles and seabirds and other marine mammals and sharks and fish of all different varieties, and we're trying to get a grasp on what really is the scale of the problem.
If what's being found on the shores of Great Taylor's Bay is anything to go by, scientists have a big job ahead of them.